Welcome to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas. Today, we are going to revisit what was a cold case from 1997. My guest is Marie Coker. Marie, Nadia Iverson's sister. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And you are out of state. That's why we're doing this virtually. First, I just want to revisit what happened, give our viewers an idea. But in summary, Arthur Sewell, a former police officer, was arrested years later in connection with the murder of your sister, and you have been her voice since this broke. Let's take a look.
Am I remorseful? Most definitely. On many levels.
Arthur Sewell describes accidentally shooting Nadia Iverson in Las Vegas in 1997.
Mr. Sewell, you spell it S-E-W-E school.
The murder happened months after Sewell resigned from Metro. He was convicted for abusing his power as an officer after he was caught on video forcing women to perform sexual acts.
The crime of sexual assault and kidnap can be very subtle sometimes, and it has to do with the differential of power and control, and who has the power and control when you have someone with a badge and a gun.
Art Sewell, and now there's this Art Sewell. No joke. But this Art Sewell left his DNA there.
15 years is not enough for anybody's life. And I wish he would have gotten more, but I'm going to make sure that he is staying in prison.
So, Marie, that was your mom there.
Yep. That's my mama.
I guess when you see that, that is a lot squeezed into a short amount of time. What is it like to see your sister's photo, and what do you want people to know about her?
It feels like it's yesterday, and it's been 28 years. 20 years cold case, waiting, not knowing. Nadia was an amazing person. She was fun. She liked people. She loved babies. She marched her own beat. She was bold. She was confident. She was only 5 foot. But I think it kind of runs in the family. Nadia would do anything for anybody. She was that person. She still has friends, and it's been 28 years since her passing. It's just, this whole process has been very hard for our whole family. But there's just this drive that has been put up on me he might have took her voice, but he didn't take mine. And I will advocate for her and fight for justice, to make awareness to all these things the police department was involved in and the judicial system, because 10 years, 15 years is not long enough.
And you're referring to Arthur Sewell's sentence. And some background here: Arthur Sewell was a Las Vegas Metro police officer, and we referred to it quickly in that piece. He had been in trouble for abusing his power as a police officer and victimizing women. I want to play a sound bite from when he was in trouble and was in court again for abusing his power as a cop.
Mr. Sewell, you spell it S-E-W-E school.
30-year college.
We believe the tape shows that this woman solicited Officer Sewell, and essentially she's responsible. There is no sexual assault, there is no kidnapping, and we think the tape clearly shows that.
Again, I don't know what a typical rape victim appears like, but you know, from what I've read and what I've seen, these people don't act like rape victims to me.
The crime of sexual assault and kidnap can be very subtle sometimes, and it has to do with the differential of power and control, and who has the power and control when you have someone with a badge and a gun. Sexual assaults take all forms. They are not always violent.
Responding to Officer Sewell's question, what are we going to do about this? And then that was her response.
She didn't say, please take me to jail, I don't want to be raped, did she?
No.
So some of those sound bites might be difficult for some people to hear. Attorneys obviously have to do their job and defend people, but certainly one can conclude there is some victim blaming, some victim shaming. It appeared that he perhaps was abusing his power with sex workers of perhaps you do this for me, I do this for you. He went to court for that. So someone with a history of this type of behavior. Marie, your thoughts?
The fact that he had a gun at every one of these, including when he was no longer a police officer, and used it on my sister and murdered her, and put on this facade that it was sex for money. You don't bring a gun for sex for money. My sister was not even 100 pounds. I think the abuse of power because of the title that he possessed, and the people he knew, even after losing his position as a police officer, gave him the upper hand because they did not read him his Miranda rights. A woman, no is no. Period. I don't care what you labeled her as. She has a right to say no. And he literally used his position to serve and protect only himself.
Let's take a quick break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy. My guest today is Marie Coker, sister of Nadia Iverson, the victim of a murder here in Las Vegas back in 1997. Took a lot of time to get your family justice. I want to sort of go back to 1997 and even before that. Can you just sort of paint the picture? Your mother had been in a terrible car accident before this. Your sister ended up in Las Vegas. Tell me sort of why and how she ended up here.
Okay, so mom's accident was February 20th of 1996. Her fiance was killed in the accident. At that point, I became full-time caregiver. Nadia was engaged to be married to a man locally here. He ended up having an affair on her and got another woman pregnant. Nadia was mortified. We all were. My mom's fallen apart trying to deal with the loss of her fiance. She didn't even know. For 3 months, she woke up from a coma, and I had to be the one to tell her that he had deceased. Nadia spiraled. No family support, no emotional support. My mom was unavailable emotionally. My dad was with another woman married to her. Nadia spiraled. She wanted to get away, and she met a guy and said, "I'll take you to Nevada." He was originally from there, and a couple months later, we got a knock at the door. I answered it. It was a male and female police officer that said we needed to call the coroner's office in Nevada, that we needed to identify her body.
I'm so sorry. And she was just 20.
Yeah, she was still a baby, still trying to figure things out.
So sorry. I want to play some sound from the scene. This is a police officer discussing how they found her. Let's take a look.
She's in a jogging suit, appears to be a nylon turquoise and purple jogging suit. It's an attractive, newer jogging suit. There's no telling if she does live around here.
That's the scene there. What did police tell you, and what was your sense of sort of what might have happened, or was it just you wanted to grieve first? Tell me.
So when we got confirmation that it was Nadia, they said that she was shot execution style. That's all we knew. No information, nothing about a rape, DNA kit, nothing. We knew nothing for 20 years. I think it was a surreal, like, what? It was so confusing. I was only 17 at the time, dealing with a suicidal mother. Of course, mom got worse. I we knew the guy that she had went with. I had met him a couple times, and I'm like, "Okay, where is he?" Because we always thought that maybe it was him, and then we found out, years later that he had axed his wife to death, and so we thought that there was a connection, and so he was sentenced to a life sentence in Pennsylvania. And then we get a call 20 years later from a private investigator that said there's been an arrest, and it was a Metro police officer. And it's like everything just like it was like reliving everything, and then finding out that she was raped, finding out that there was a DNA kit we could have paid for, that we knew nothing about. And then there's 8,000 rape kits that's been sitting on a shelf. It was so overwhelming.
One of the things I want to ask you about, so obviously when police give us information, we try to relay that information, right? Journalists. And at the time, they were eventually referring to her as a sex worker, correct? And
Yep.
do you want to address that?
Yeah. My sister was engaged to be married. She wanted a family. Um, the woman that they are possessing her as is sickening, frustrating. Um, but I've wrestled with this for the last 8 years. 28 technically. Um, they can label someone any way they want. Right? It's part of the whole thing to lessen someone's character. This is a police officer. Why would they do XYZ? And it fit the kind of narrative. Um, my sister might have been 5 foot, but she was a fighter. She was a fighter, and I know darn well she did not willingly participate. This man had a gun against her head based on forensic evidence. He had it point blank up against her. That is not willing. That is rape. That is murder. That is intent.
And he is not arrested until years later,
Yep, 20 years.
20 years later. And then police interview him, two detectives interview him. Essentially, there is a confession in a way.
Yeah.
And then there is a problem with that confession because of Miranda rights. Perhaps he didn't have a lawyer present. Um, I know that was another blow to your family.
Yeah. Um, so when we heard his confession, we're like, oh, good, no trial. This is going to be, the DA told us he'll get 20 to 40 years because it goes back to when he originally did the crime, and that's what they do their judicial system on. And then it was thrown out because the cops never read him his Miranda rights. It just happens to be Metro Police, which is who he worked for prior to being forced to resign, but keeping his pension, of course.
And eventually he takes a plea deal before we address that. You touched on it, the DNA kits. Nevada had a major backlog in DNA kits. Eventually, they say, we have to address this. They start testing them. Your sister's kit is there. It is a match to Arthur Sewell.
Correct.
Some relief, as you mentioned. Now we know who did this. Some frustration. This could have been solved years later.
Correct. Yes. Yes. And the gun that was used in the murder was actually destroyed with his other charges prior, and they did no ballistics on them at all.
Let's take a quick break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy, joined by Marie Coker, sister of Nadia Iverson. Marie, again, thank you. I know this is sort of an emotional, it's not sort of, it is an emotional roller coaster, and it takes a lot of courage to revisit it. So I just want to thank you. Arthur Sewell, former police officer. Your sister's life is taken in 1997. This is a cold case for about 20 years. We find out there's a backlog of DNA kits. Your sister's kit from sexual assault turned out to be a match to Arthur Sewell. There is a confession. It is tossed out because of issues with Miranda rights. He takes a plea deal. I have it right here, the guilty plea agreement. So he pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter with use of a deadly weapon. Parties stipulate to a conditional sentence of 6 to 15 years.
Right.
Let's revisit our report about his sentencing. Take a look.
Former police officer Arthur Sewell sentenced 6 to 15 years in prison for killing Nadia Iverson in 1997.
I don't think there's enough justice. There won't be enough time served that would take and bring her back to us.
Marie Coker is Iverson's sister. She and her mother and Iverson's best friend wear shirts and bracelets in memory of Iverson as they attended Sewell's sentencing Tuesday.
I've been praying and hoping that he would confess every day. Every day I prayed to God.
That confession came more than 20 years after the murder. Old rape kits were tested. Police say Sewell was a match, and detectives questioned him in 2018.
I went out with the intention of sexual gratification. And when the 357 went off, it freaked me out. And I bolted and I panicked.
Iverson's body was found in this downtown Las Vegas home under construction. Police said she had a gunshot wound, and an investigation revealed she may have been sexually assaulted. The murder happened months after Sewell resigned from Metro. He was convicted for abusing his power as an officer after he was caught on video forcing women to perform sexual acts.
This art school, and now there's this art school. No joke. But this art school left his DNA there.
But the confession Iverson's mother had hoped and waited for would later be tossed out. A judge ruled the detectives violated Sewell's Miranda rights by questioning him without an attorney. In November, he pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter with use of a deadly weapon. He could be released in less than 2 years because of time he already served in jail. Iverson's loved ones say they plan on attending his parole hearings to make sure he stays behind bars to serve the full term.
15 years is not enough for anybody's life. And I wish he would have gotten more, but I'm going to make sure that he is staying in prison.
I want to fast forward now. This is our last piece of video here to 2025. We're recording this right now in October 2025, but earlier this year, he was up for parole, and I talked to you right before that. Let's take a look.
Nadia Iverson died of a gunshot wound, and evidence revealed that she may have also been sexually assaulted. Now, the crime was unsolved until 2018 after the state tested some old rape kits. Well, Arthur Sewell's DNA was a match. He entered a plea and began serving his sentence in 2023. Now, a parole hearing is scheduled for this coming Monday. 8 News Now investigator Vanessa Murphy spoke with Iverson's sister, who says she will be there.
Do you think you can convince the board to keep him in prison?
I would do everything in my power because I'm sorry, 8 years for killing. And I believe he brought the gun. There was intent. It wasn't like she showed up at his place. He saw it out. He had it on him. The evidence in itself, it wasn't a oops, it fell on the ground. It was back to her head. She knew she was going to be killed by him.
Now, if Sewell is not granted parole on Monday, prison records show he would be finished serving his term for this crime in 2028. He is currently at Ely State Prison.
He was not granted parole. You showed up.
Correct.
He did not show up.
Correct.
What do you want to say about that?
His character. He don't care. Like, he got a good deal. So there's no reason to show up. He's going to do his time and get out without no parole and go on with his life like nothing happened. We're stuck with this for the rest of our lives. We're having to live this nightmare and go to her grave. And I'm going to write my book. And I'm going to tell what people don't know. The person she was, the life she lived, the impact that she has made outside of this horrific murder, how it's changed me, how it's inspired me to be a voice, not only for her, but for others, to encourage those that are still waiting for their phone call that we were given. It's put me on a path that I didn't want, but it's a path that I'm thankful I have the opportunity to pursue.
And you have one more opportunity, correct, to address the parole board?
Correct. 2027, we are to go before, I don't know when it's going to be, but that will be to determine whether or not we would like him to serve the rest of the time or get out 6 months early, that we can request it, but it's not our final decision. The board will decide that.
And with the time he was given, 6 months probably means more.
It does. It does. Because of the lack of time he was given. My family, and I included, will be asking for the full time. Because, I mean, this whole process has been eye-opening for the judicial system. And it's actually disheartening. And I'm actually been encouraging and supporting others that are going through their own murder cases, actually as well, to prepare them for what lies ahead that they would not be told elsewise.
Marie, thank you so much. We will all have to look for your book, of course.
Absolutely. A voice for Nadia.
A voice for Nadia, and your strength is incredible, and I really appreciate you talking with us. Thanks so much.
And I appreciate this opportunity.